We are joined by Mark Schleusener, the chief of the Illinois Ag Statistics Service, just shortly after the USDA's National Ag Statistics Service released the Ag Census from the year 2002. And Mark, this is the biggest report that you do, that Census does. Tremendous number of statistics.
That is true. The full Census of Agriculture book for the state of Illinois is about the size of a Chicago phone book. Remember those things, the phone books? And so there are just hundreds of statistics in there. We are defining and describing Illinois agriculture in many ways. Not only the crops and livestock that are produced, but also the people that are raising the food, fuel, fiber, and feed that we need. So we have demographics on the farmers and ranchers in Illinois and around the country.
This is something that the farmers filled out voluntarily online, turning in paperwork after the year 2002, or 2022.
Correct.
Excuse me. And at that point, all that material is confidential, but it's something that really paints a pretty good picture of American agriculture and what you've got as far as Illinois agriculture.
Yes, it's a very detailed picture with statistics down to the county level with farm counts. For instance, Stu, we measure corn and soybean production every year. It's acres, yield, production. We measure price every year, but not how many farms are growing those commodities. And that's what we do in the Census of Agriculture.
Okay.
So the farm counts are actually harder.
All right. Give us paint a picture here for Illinois agriculture. How many farms do we have and what do they produce?
In Illinois, we had 71,123 farms during 2022. That's down 2% from 5 years previous. The Census of Ag is every 5 years, so these 5-year snapshots are telling long-term trend stories. The average farm size in Illinois was 370 acres. That's actually down 2 acres from 5 years previously. Generally, farms have been getting bigger, but not all the time.
Do we know why that went down?
I'm not exactly sure. I haven't spent a great deal of time looking at it, but it could be, let's say, some newer, more niche type farms. Let's say someone who's growing organic produce, or maybe they're growing organic field crops, or maybe they're doing pasture-raised beef. And they may not need as many acres because they have a niche product with a higher price point. They may not need as many acres to have a going concern.
Okay.
Overall land in farms in Illinois, 26.3 million acres. That is down from 27 million acres. So land in farms is down, also the number of farms. I think Illinois farmers and ranchers were fortunate in 2022 that we had high commodity prices and we also had high yields. Usually those don't go together. Usually if you get the high price, you've got the low yields. But our total sales of all agricultural products in 22 was 26.4 million. That compares to 17 million back in 2017. One more thing about the economics of farming, the expenses were also up a great deal. And in particular, fertilizer, rent, chemicals for the crop production side of things were very expensive in 2022, much more so than 2017.
Back on that issue of farmland, we've seen a lot of farmland over the years be lost to urban sprawl around cities, more suburbs going out there. Is that probably the issue of losing all of that acreage as far as in the last 5 years?
Well, that's certainly one cause of it, although that tends to go very slowly, and I'm not sure that's accounting for all of it. Another thing I think we can talk about is some land may be taken out of production for, let's say, a solar farm, but again, I think that would be a very small number of acres. Hard to imagine that adds up to a great many acres across Illinois.
It could be increasing as we talk, and it should be. What else have we got as far as a picture of Illinois agriculture?
Well, let me share some bragging rights for the great state of Illinois and the farmers and ranchers that are helping us all here. Illinois was number one in soybeans with more than 33,000 farms growing soybeans. We had the largest acres among all the states in the U.S. Illinois is also number one in pumpkins. Almost 650 farmers were growing pumpkins in Illinois. And Illinois is number one in horseradish. 50 farms grew more than 2,000 acres. A lot of that's down near Collinsville. Illinois was number two in corn acres, and we've got 35,000 farmers growing corn. Illinois is number four in hogs, And if you combine all crop sales together, Illinois comes in number 3 in crop sales, behind number 1 California, number 2 Iowa.
Okay. Some great bragging rights there, anyway.
I think so. And again, we were fortunate with adequate rainfall during 2022, whereas especially if you go west of the Mississippi River, things were dry and farmers were not so lucky. They did not get the timely rains, and that was a difficult time for them, I think.
As far as the number of farms that you tallied, you had what, about 40% of the voluntary reports?
About 40% of our reports nationwide came in through the internet. We had internet-based reporting on the Census of Ag, and we pushed that really hard. So special thank you to all the farmers and ranchers that responded on the web. That saves taxpayer dollars for postage and paper. We appreciate you doing that. Overall, Illinois was the number 4 response rate for all census data collection at 67.5%. I'd like to say a few things about the history of the Census of Agriculture. It's been done every 5 years back since 1840. That actually predates the Department of Agriculture. Abraham Lincoln created the Department of Agriculture in the 1860s. I think it was 1863. But the Census of Agriculture has been done every 5 years since 1840. And it's been done in every state in the nation. And the main thing we've got there is the ability to count all types of farms, not just the commodities that are large in Illinois, because we measure corn and soybeans every year, but we're not measuring horseradish. We're not measuring fruits and vegetables every year. But with the Census of Ag, we're measuring all types of agricultural production, all sizes of farms, and we have enough data to tabulate down to the county level for most things.
Okay, I know the county numbers are going to be coming out soon, and you've got some more reports that are going to be coming up. You're going to be collecting data for the March 31st acreage planting intentions report.
That's right. Here we are in middle to late February. We're getting ready to publish county estimates for corn and soybeans from the 23 season, and we're getting ready to mail out our March planting intention surveys. That'll have a March 1 reference date, and we will publish results at the end of the month. We'll be asking farmers about the crops they intend to plant in 24, also grains in storage on their farms, and we will also be contacting the grain elevators to ask about the grains they have stored in those commercial facilities. And overall, that's the food supply. That's what we're measuring.
And if anybody wants to delve deeply into the Ag Census data, they can go to USDA.gov.
Almost right, Stu.
Almost
it's
right. Go to
nas.usda.gov/ag census, or nas.usda.gov, and look for the link to go to census.
All right. We appreciate Mark Schleusener, Chief of the Illinois Ag Statistics Service, stopping by. I'm Stu Ellis.